Ooh. Okay. Left and right. Kia ora, everybody.
Kia ora.
Thank you for having me speak today. My name is Nimmo, and I live close to the Opawaho Heathcote River in a small suburb called Roimata for 10 years. And I'm hoping to end your day with something that's a little bit different and positive. My submission to you today will focus mainly on the Opawaho Heathcote River and its relevance to the long-term plan. The desire to protect and enhance Christchurch City's urban rivers have never been stronger than now. And this was demonstrated last weekend, or no, 2 weekends ago, and this interest is most commonly expressed by high levels of involvement by local residents in river cleanups. Those cleanups are particularly run by the brewery or the tannery. The most ambitious cleanup to date was held earlier this month. In just a couple of hours, volunteers pulled 3.3 tonnes of rubbish out of the river in an area that stretched from the estuary all the way up to St Martin's. So that map up there demonstrates the length of the river where those 3.3 tonnes of rubbish was pulled out of the awa. I'd like you to know that we care about the Opawaho Heathcote River. There's been a lot of activity bubbling around underneath the surface for the last 12 months. In June last year, a workshop about the Opawaho was attended by over 40 community representatives. Guided walks are popular. I've run 2 guided walks myself over the last 12 months, and they were well attended. Facebook page and newsletter subscriptions are growing, and there are 5 community groups running hands-on projects for years in different parts of the catchment. But perhaps most significantly, a workshop is being planned for June this year to establish a whole of river network, which will start to draw out all of that activity into a very public interface. So community leaders are discovering a very strong, currently untapped community interest in the restoration of the Opawaho Heathcote River, and this must be integrated into long-term planning for the future of Christchurch. A key message here is that investment by council in the Opawaho will be supported by community goodwill, and that investment will be most successful if it is grounded in and informed by a genuine partnership with communities located within the catchment. And there is an unlimited potential for a source-to-sea concept for the Opawaho that could significantly enhance the character and livability of the south and the east of Christchurch. A shared pathway for cyclists and pedestrians located along the river would be the backbone of such a source-to-sea experience and would connect key Christchurch attractions such as the Christchurch Bike and Adventure Park, the Tannery, Woolston Village, Heathcote Village and the Ferrymead Heritage Park. This concept also supports sustainable, appropriate local economic development with unlimited potential to connect to local businesses and schools. And it's my feeling that these aspirational qualities must be enshrined in the long-term plan, and I strongly support the concepts of a cycleway up along the river. You might be wondering why we're suddenly landing in Auckland. This is a picture of the Wynyard Quarter. If you haven't visited it, I strongly recommend that you do next time you're up in Auckland. The lower part of the Opawaho, in particular Woolston, has an industrial history which is poorly understood and can offer a rich visitor experience of a special part of Christchurch that has a unique identity. There are many interesting and varied empty surfaces and spaces on large industrial buildings sited along the river which could be activated by artists, sculptors and landscape architects. And I really do believe that Woolston has the potential to become the Wynyard Quarter of Christchurch. So in the summary document, there was a question, what will it take to transform our rivers? And it listed a whole range of remediation options and activities on page 58. I don't want to go through all of those. I just want to say yes to all of those options and activities, and a very big, strong yes. But there's a few details I want to pick out around that. One is that I think it's important that there is equitable expenditure or investment across the different catchments, which are optimised to reflect the unique characteristics of the different rivers. However, it isn't at all clear if this is the case in the long-term plan. For example, approximately $97 million is already budgeted for the Avon Otakaro precinct in central Christchurch from another bucket of money, in a cost-sharing agreement with the City Council and the Crown. However, I feel that this is disproportionate expenditure for a relatively small part of the Avon River. It is also highly disproportionate expenditure across the entire waterway networks in Christchurch overall.
Sorry, we were just smiling because we actually agree.
Oh, well, that's a relief. Thank goodness for that.
We weren't here when somebody said that was a good idea.
Oh, right, okay. Phew. So the key point here I want to emphasise is that the Apawaho must no longer be viewed as the poor cousin to the Otakaro and Avon. Both of those rivers have similar sized catchments, so I would like to see similar investments going to both of those catchments. Technical solutions are only part of technical solutions are only part of the picture. Funding for community engagement and behavioural change program is essential.
Immediately. I don't think people know that by washing the car and having it all go into... They don't know. People don't know that they shouldn't do that.
No, they don't.
So we're going to put... I'm just instructing Vicky to put it on Facebook immediately.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah, don't do this. If you wash this into the drains, you might as well be standing in our pristine river and putting it straight in the river.
Yes,
yep.
And actually an interesting unintended impact, I'm sorry, this isn't the submission, it's easy to communicate though, of the intensification of our urban areas is that if people have less space,
yep,
they're not going to have grass to wash their cars on.
That's right.
So I think it would be brilliant to have a little parklet somewhere in most suburbs for people to go and wash their cars on. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm digressing.
Great.
On page 58 of the summary document, it is noted that a range of behavioural changes by individuals, for example washing cars on grass, will be required to restore our rivers. Widespread, sustained behavioural change will optimise council investment in technical and engineering solutions, and this behaviour change programmes require properly resourced, consistent social marketing and appropriate community engagement. You just can't do one thing without the other. However, it isn't clear to me if these community engagement and behavioural change programmes are included at all in the LTP. And to achieve this, adequate funding for these activities for all waterways in Christchurch must also be included in the long-term plan. Okay, back to the Apawaho. I want to refer to specific lines in the budget now. One's 880, which is the wastewater Heathcote and wet weather overflow reduction. Compared to other budget items associated with the Apawaho, this is by far the largest investment in the river. It is essential that any measures funded through this mechanism must achieve multiple outcomes for the river, such as improving water quality and protecting and enhancing ecological communities along the entire length of the catchment. The ecological damage caused by the Ralston cut must not be repeated anywhere along the river at all, ever. There has been a linear plan for the mid, and I would like to suggest that that is revisited in light of post-quake community aspirations for a bolder landscape plan. We live in a different world now, so let's go back to that and have another look at it. ID 1972, the budget initially, I strongly support the funding of the major cycleway for the Apawaho River, and I applaud their council for initiating this. I'm really excited about it actually. However, I note that the budget allocated to the Apawaho River route is nowhere near as comparable to that of the Avon cycle route, yet traffic engineering solutions required to make a safe cycle route along the Apawaho may be complex and expensive. This is because cyclists will be travelling through a more urbanised and traffic-dense area than the proposed Avon River Park. This could require significant investment, and I'd like to suggest that budget initially allocated to the Heathcote River and the Avon River cycle routes should be comparable and reallocated as the route and true costs are determined over time. ID 21132. Compared to the mid-Heathcote, the lower Heathcote has received little investment from the council for well over 20 years. This is clearly evident downstream from the Apawaho Road Bridge, where riparian strips are shabby and damaged, plus the recreational amenity values are very poor compared to those upstream of the Apawaho Bridge. And this photo shows a significant historical site, and a really significant historical site, on the corner of Richardson Terrace and Ferry Road, which is neglected and poorly maintained. And this is where we need to have more investment go into. Not just that site, but all the way down to the Ferrymead Heritage Park. The Mid-Heathcote area has received prior investment through the implementation of the Mid-Heathcote linear plan, yet is allocated approximately 30% more than the Lower Heathcote. At minimum, investment should be allocated equally to both areas, or the Lower Heathcote should receive more funding in recognition of prior investment in the Mid-Heathcote. Almost finished. ID 21132, the Lower Heathcote Masterplan implementation. I was really excited to see this, but it made me feel a bit anxious. Nearly $1 million is proposed to be spent on the Lower Heathcote Masterplan implementation in just 1 year, with no further investment for the next 9 years. The proposed timeline to spending this sum in the Lower Heathcote is puzzling, and communities and stakeholders associated with this area must be consulted appropriately before the money is spent. Without sound justification, the investment should be equitable, spread over time, and along the length of the Lower Heathcote, not just in one discrete area. ID 19398. We need good transparency for the 3 distinctly different elements of the stormwater plan to enable communities to make informed comments about investment in each. The estuary and the coast and the Heathcote stormwater management plan will require quite different techniques, strategies and approaches, and I would like to see that very carefully unpacked and made transparent to the community. My last slide. Rivers are our well-being and they're our future. City living needs balancing with immersive natural areas to maintain physical, mental and spiritual well-being. To make Christchurch a 21st century city, we need to turn our rivers from drains into attractive, regenerative natural areas. There's a really exciting potential for Christchurch to rebrand as a city of rivers, which to some extent it always has been, but to date this potential has never been properly valued or recognised, and now is the opportunity. So on behalf of the Apawaho Heathcote River, I thank you for your time and consideration of this submission, and I really look forward to our future of our rivers.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, but there aren't. We've got another submitter,
yep.
So I can't really take questions. And I know that. I mean, yeah, I know. Look, people are going to give you double thumbs
yep.
up. It was a great and exciting submission, and in a way, I wish it was our last submission for the night because it was so powerful and positive. Thank you. But I'm sure we're going to be looking forward to working with you on that submission.
We'll hold a river group organised for you by this time next year.
Excellent. Brilliant. Christian Jordan. Christian's